Yeah, we need 6.
Okay, yeah. Attendees, we have 2. Lori McCarthy. Oh, 3. Krista Trapp, Lori McCarthy, and Wendy Rundle. Oh, and Diane Baxter, and now they're all popping on. We have 6 attendees and 10 panelists. Jamie, Matthew. Oh, Matthew, that's you. Paul, Craig, David, Greg, and Kirk.
Would you mind repeating the members of the public?
We have Krista Trapp, Diane Baxter, a guest user. Jared is, I'm going to allow Jared to talk because Jared is on as an attendee, not as a panelist.
So who else? You said there were 6 from the public. You listed 4.
Kent Walker, Lori McCarthy, and Wendy Rundle.
Okay.
I promoted Jared to panelist, so now you're a panelist, Jared. You can
Was he
talk
previously a
and share.
guest?
Yeah, he was on the attendees. And Patrick, where are you? Well, I'm gonna here we go.
Did Patrick, Gail, or Kathy say they could not attend?
Kathy said she couldn't.
Oh, Patrick's here.
Yep, Patrick was in attendees. I just promoted him to a panelist.
Oh, big promotion. We all
I like that we're able to do this so that even if yeah, this is nice. This is nice to be able to invite people to speak. So yeah, we have right now for board members, David, Greg, Kirk, Patrick, and Paul.
You want me to start?
So we have
Actually,
5.
before you do, Chris, so we have a guest from the public. Is that okay?
There's a guest user, yeah.
So we don't have to know their name?
No, they're a
Okay.
member of the public. They can't speak and or anything like that. So they can choose to remain a guest.
Okay, we just got an
That's
email
fine.
from Gail. She's having trouble logging in.
If she goes to the public invite and clicks on that, I can make her a panelist from the attendees list.
No, she's actually asking if you can send her invite to her other email address that allows for video conferencing better. So there's an email that was sent to you, Chris. After we get started, can you reply back to her?
On my work email?
Yeah.
Let me see. Yep.
I think we can get started without her, right?
How many
Yeah.
board members do we have?
6.
Oh, if
7.
we have 6, we're fine.
I'm sending Gail the invite now.
There's 7.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'm not counting myself. That's the problem.
And are the public members like listening? Like I can go ahead or?
They should, yeah, they are.
Are we starting with continuing ed or anything else before?
I'm gonna do a little bit of the intro like we normally do before I turn it
Okay.
over to continuing ed. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the February 13th, 2024 LSP board meeting. I'm Terry Wood, Executive Director of the LSP board. As always, the board encourages interactive participation, and to that end, I encourage you to turn your camera on as well as ensure that your cell phone is on silent mode. I will now proceed with a roll call to establish who from the board is participating in today's meetings and also to confirm quorum. Please say here or present when I call your name. David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder. Not yet. Greg McBride,
Yes.
Kathleen Campbell, She is absent today. Kirk Franklin,
Here.
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
James Smith. I thought he was here.
He was here.
Jamie,
Well, he was on.
He's no longer listed.
all right, well, I'll keep going then. Craig Ellis,
Here.
Paul McKinley.
Present.
So that's 6 out of 9 board members, so we have a quorum.
Jamie just
you.
logged in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jamie, are you here?
His screen's frozen. I see him, but I think he's frozen.
Okay, well, we can proceed and hopefully he'll get on for continuing ed. Chris, in addition, do you want to list who else is on the Zoom from the public?
Yes. Krista Trapp, Diane Baxter, a guest user, Kent Walker, Lori McCarthy, and Wendy Rundle are on.
Thank you. So now we'll turn to the Continuing Education Committee meeting. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to either Chairperson David Austin or Gail Batchelder.
Great, thank you. I'm calling the continuing ed committee meeting to order at 12:12. The agenda is set. I don't think there's anything else to change on the agenda.
Hey, David? A minor adjustment, possibly the 4th course listed for NMOA. That might be a course reapproval. When we get to it, just kind of go slow through that because that was a conference that they've presented the past in 2020, 2022 with the same name.
Okay. One thing that's different is that there are now meeting minutes that were nicely written up. Are we to approve them like we used to in the past?
Yes, by a roll call vote.
And if people have edits, do they provide them to Matt?
Yes.
Yeah, he wrote these. Yep.
Okay. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? If not, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's go through a roll call. Kirk? Yes, is approving. Great. Jamie?
Yes.
Greg McBride?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
I'm a yes. And Patrick?
Yes.
Great. Moving on to new business, there's 4 requests that came in. The first one, I couldn't tell from the email correspondences, Matt, if at the end of each one of these sessions, 2.5 credits, 3 credits, and 2.5 credits, are they going to have a 10-question quiz and you have to get 7 correct
Yes.
for each one of these?
Yes.
Okay. So with that assumption, I'm making a motion to approve the 3 on-demand courses.
Second.
Any discussion from the public or the board? So a yes is approval of the 3. They'll each have their own number, I assume.
Yep.
Or, okay, Kirk?
Yeah.
Jamie?
Yes.
Greg? McBride?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
I'm a yes.
I'm here now too.
Gail's here.
And I was here for the last one too, so everybody knows I was not a panelist yet. I had trouble getting on.
Okay, well, I'm glad you made it. The second request is LSPA membership meeting, 1.5 credits, live webinar, and then a future on-demand format.
David, this is Patrick. Just want to make sure you captured my yes on your last
Yes,
roll call there. Thank you.
thanks for the reminder. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the public, the board? A yes is an approval. Kirk,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Greg McBride,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
I'm a yes. And Patrick,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
thank you. The third request is also from the LSPA. 2 technical credits, webinar, and then a future on-demand format, gathering vapor data and case studies. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion from the board or public? A yes is approval. Kirk,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Patrick
Yes.
and Gail.
Yes.
Thank you. And then the last one is NUMOA. It's a conference and it looks like it's a renewal or a redo from one that they did many years ago. Even though it has the same title, I'm assuming the content is all different and the presenters similar to other conferences that we've seen that are repeated every year. And like a conference, are asking for a half a credit for every hour of the conference.
Yeah, Dave, I can tell you, the conference was first approved in 2020, course number 1688. And then they came forward in 2022 with the same conference, and it was given an A designation, 1688A. So at that time, it was considered a course reapproval. The same conference name, some similar themes, PFAS. The conference name's the same, but a lot of the sessions are similar. Assessment, cleanup of PFAS. So back in 2022, it was deemed a course reapproval. So now for 2 years
But the
ahead of that.
presenters were probably
But
different. Is
I
that
assume
not-
these are all different. They're not gonna redo the same thing. So I'm assuming this is like the Soils Conference. It's different
Yeah,
presenters
there's-
every year.
The categories are the same, but the speakers are all different, and we can just treat this the way that we treat the AEHS conference at UMass.
Okay, I think what I'll do is I'll use a 1688, but maybe have a
No, it
dash
needs a new number.
2024, just like
Alright.
just like we do with AEHS.
Is that how we do it? Because
Yeah,
they have the same number?
With a
except the
year.
last four,
Year?
the last 4 digits are different. It's the year, and you
Oh,
can
okay.
you can take the course again, and it's not a duplication of what you did 2 years ago. So it allows people to take the course every year or every other year.
Oh, okay.
That's
So I
okay.
make a motion to approve.
Wait. I wanted to discuss something about it and that they didn't ask for, but I found it, I think it's hard. It seems like they should have asked for each day, people being able to get credit for just one of those days or 2 of those days or something like that, because I can't imagine they'll get a lot of people who could take 3 whole days away for only 12 and a
It
half
is listed
credits.
it's listed by day.
Oh, is it by day?
Yeah,
I
it's
thought they
listed.
said you had to attend the whole thing.
No, just you have to attend the whole day to get credit for
Oh,
that
okay,
day.
that's fine. No, that was my question. I must have read
Yeah.
it fast. I'm sorry.
So it's not like some of the other conferences where you can just come in for 3 or 4 hours and get 2 hours of credit. They make you attend for the full day to get half day
But
credit.
you'll get the certificate at the end of each day. That's what I must have read wrong. Okay.
Yep.
I thought it
Yeah,
said
and
at the
they
end.
it's 4 hours, 4 1/4, and 4 1/4 across the 3 different days. So I make a motion to approve the conference as proposed.
Second.
Any further discussion from the board or the public? A yes is approving. Kirk,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
David is a yes, Patrick
Yes.
and Gail.
Yes.
That's all we have for today. The next meeting will be March 12th. Calling this meeting to an end at 12:20.
Next, we move to the Professional Conduct Committee meeting. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Chairperson Kirk Franklin or Jamie Smith.
Good morning, Jamie.
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, I got it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, call to order, 12:22. Are there any announcements? Any additions or deletions or changes to the draft? Any questions on the draft minutes from January 9th? Okay, old business.
Nope, so
think we need to
No, we
make a
have
motion to
we have
approve the minutes.
approve.
Yeah, roll call vote.
Okay. Motion to approve the draft minutes.
Second,
Okay. I don't know if I have a list.
I have the list. I can do it for you if you want.
Sure, thanks.
Kirk, you,
Yes.
Jamie,
yes.
Greg McBride,
yes,
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
David's a yes, Patrick,
Yes.
and Gail.
Yes.
Okay. Now, old business, status of complaint review team.
I can report on this. So going over the active case summary table, and Chris, I don't know if it's possible to put that up on the screen or not.
So Chris is talking, but he's muted.
Oh,
All right, sorry, I hit my mute button. What do you want me to put up on the screen?
that active case summary table.
Is that on the document you sent me?
It should be on the packet list. I mean, if you don't have it, I can just run through it, but if people want to look at it at the time I talk about it.
It's the only Excel spreadsheet you have on that list.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. So you guys can see it. You
I can't see it.
I can't
I
see
can't
it.
either.
Oh, all right. I need to share my screen. I apologize. This is a
No
lot
problem.
different than GoToMeeting, and I'm trying to figure out where I share which specific screen. Share one participant share at a time.
It's down below and it's green.
Yeah. So what are you guys seeing? You seeing the gallery
You-
right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any of us can do it. If you want, I can bring it
Yeah,
up.
I was gonna say, but anybody-
Yeah, do that.
Doesn't have to
For
be
some
you.
reason I can't. There we go. Oh,
Oh, thank you.
thank you, Jamie.
Let's welcome.
So I'm just gonna run through the cases quickly. So number 105C07, the update in this one, this is the one that where the case is pending in the appeals court. And the Assistant Attorney General who's handling the case for the board. I think we discussed last time that she was seeking an extension of time that was granted. So now the board's response brief is due on March 14th, 2024. She indicated that she would try to get that to us in advance of that date. As soon as I get that, we can share it with the board members and then you can review it. If you have any comments on that, you can get them back to me and I can make sure that they're shared with the Assistant Attorney General. So that's the update on this one. Number 208C03, there's no new developments on this one yet. We are trying to go back and look at all of the cases that are on this list, but we need a little bit more time for a few of them. The next one, 312C01, again, there's also no new developments on this one since the last meeting. Number 418C01, Jared Muggio, the new general counsel, has been added to the complaint review team on this one. And I believe that he and Matt are trying to reach out to the board members on the CRT to try to schedule a CRT meeting soon. Number 518C02, Jared Muggio has also been added to the CRT for this one. We are trying to see if we can find, we're still trying to put the case documents together for this one. So a CRT meeting for this one should be happening in the near future. Number 6 and 7, 20C01 and 20C02, we will have updates on those in the very near future. And that's all I have to say about the active case list.
Okay. Any new business? No.
Still under old business. We have some of the cases to discuss. Kirk? So for 21C01, at the last meeting, due to the large size of the complaint, the board agreed to form a screening team at the last meeting, July 9th. So screening team met twice since then, February 2nd and February 9th, to review and discuss the complaint. And the screening team plans to meet again later this month to discuss some remaining items. So we should have a recommendation, or they should have a recommendation for the full board at the March meeting. Case 22C01. This was another case where a screening team was formed at the last meeting. I'm going to spend a few minutes to talk about the case in detail and what the screening team discussed and what they're ultimately going to recommend. So it might take about 10 minutes to get through it, but I think it's important that we go through everything and then the full board can discuss how they feel about it. The screening team members, David Austin, Patrick Herron, met on the January 29th, 2024, and again on February 1st, 2024, went through each allegation, deliberated on its merits, board jurisdiction, and grounds for further consideration. So allegation number 1 pertained to allowing the premature redevelopment of the site before the extent of contamination was properly defined, delineated, and controlled. The screening team agreed that the LSP does not have responsibility for redevelopment of a property or delineating contamination prior to redevelopment. The MCP allows construction of buildings in contaminated areas and allows this work to be done prior to a phase 2 or delineation being completed. A RAM plan was submitted to DEP prior to redevelopment, which outlined the actions to be taken during construction, and it was also updated after construction started. The screening team does not recommend additional investigation for this allegation. Second allegation was regards to failure to properly test building indoor air quality prior to approval of the full occupancy and use of the redeveloped buildings. The screening team noted that previous indoor air testing was conducted when the buildings were vacant. The LSP was aware of the proposed building renovations as evidenced in the RAM plan filed in April 2016, which was before the building was occupied. That RAM plan included the proposed installation of a vapor mitigation system, as well as indoor air testing before occupancy. That was in section 6 of the RAM plan. LSP was only made aware of the occupancy of the building after a news article was published. The LSP then contacted the client to recommend urgent testing. As such, the LSP provided guidance to the client for the need for indoor air testing before occupancy and also after occupancy. The screening team does not recommend additional investigation for this allegation. Third allegation was in regards to failure to install a subslab depressurization system to prevent ongoing TCE vapor intrusion into the occupied treatment buildings. The screening team indicated and noted that an indoor air mitigation system was installed to the site. Although the system was not an active system that the complainant preferred, the passing venting system was installed and followed DEP requirements and guidance policies. As such, the screening team does not recommend additional investigation. Allegations 4, 5, and 6 were combined here for, in summary, failure to design and install and operate a groundwater collection and treatment system to address TCE contamination at the site, failure to install a groundwater and preferred contaminant pathway barrier to prevent TCE contaminated groundwater spread, and failure to address the leakage of TCE groundwater into the city stormwater drainage system. The screening team agreed that a groundwater collection and treatment system or a barrier system was not required by MCP or DEP. And this type of remedial approach is typically evaluated and implemented later on in the MCP process under phase 3 and 4. Additionally, an investigation was conducted to assess the groundwater infiltration into the city's stormwater drainage system and was documented in the MCP reports. Furthermore, the screening team noted that LSPs do not cause spills or spread contamination. For these reasons, the screening team does not recommend additional investigation for these allegations. Allegation number 7 dealt with the failure to disclose the improper employment arrangement, which created a clear conflict of interest since the LSP was employed and paid by the tenant company, which rents the property from the city, while instead submitting reports to DEP, which implied that LSP was working for the city on behalf of the residents of the city, which was not true. The screening team reviewed this allegation and agreed that the board regulations pertaining to conflict of interest did not appear to be violated. There were documents indicating that the tenant was aware that the city was the property owner and that MCP reports were being certified by both the LSP and the city. Documents indicated that the city was aware that the tenant had hired the LSP firm and tenant was paying the LSP firm for environmental services pertaining to MCP work at the site. Both parties seem to have common goals with respect to MCP compliance and regulatory closure. With that, the screening team does not recommend additional investigation. Allegation number 8, in regards to failure to properly identify LSP interests and allegiance during the preparation of a public involvement plan for the site, including participating in a hearing for the draft PIP at which the LSP provided misleading information and supported the position of LSP's real employer in opposition to the interests of the affected residents, while attempting to refute points being made by PIP members, as well as those made by an independent LSP who was also attending the PIP hearing. In reviewing the video recording of the PIP hearing, the screening team noted that the tenant made introductory comments that indicated who the LSP was and the relationship of the various parties. The LSP was identified on the PIP plan filed with DEP, which indicated the PIP plan was filed on behalf of the tenant. The allegation did not provide specific examples of misleading statements, and the screening team did not find any comments from the LSP that appeared to be misleading during the PIP hearing. Therefore, the screening team does not recommend additional investigation. Allegation number 9 regards to continuing to maintain questionable activities by responding to the DEP notice of noncompliance issued as a direct result of the LSP's inadequate work done on behalf of the LSP employer and continuing to submit work material on behalf of the city while failing to disclose who the LSP was really working for and being paid by. The screening team noted that it's typical for LSPs to respond to their clients' NONs. The screening team does not recommend additional investigation. Number 10, continuing to act as the LSP of record even after the city council passed a resolution enumerating a list of reasons why the city had lost all confidence in the ability of the LSP to perform work on behalf of the interests of the residents of the city. The screening team did not think that the city council resolution barred the LSP from performing LSP services at the site. As such, the screening team does not recommend additional investigation. And lastly, allegation number 11, failure to follow the rules of professional conduct of LSPs by acting in an unethical manner by giving inaccurate and insufficient advice to the city when in fact the LSP was offering opinions that were in the interest of the LSP employer and not in the interest of the residents of the city. The screening team did not find evidence of the LSP providing inaccurate information or providing insufficient advice or acting in an unethical manner. Therefore, the screening team does not recommend additional investigation for that allegation. In regard to the notice of noncompliance, the screening team noted that DEP did a detailed audit of the phase 2 report as evidenced by the Office of Research and Standards providing support. It was not surprising, given the history of the site, the contamination involved, the complexity of the site, and the extensive audit performed, that DEP would require additional assessment and evaluation. Also, the NON did not identify any issues directed at the LSP. So in summary, the screening team indicates none of the allegations identified in the complaint and other evidence reviewed by the screening team are enough to assign a CRT for further investigation. As such, the screening team recommends dismissal of the complaint. So with that, I
Excellent summary.
leave it
Thank
to
you.
the floor. Any
Thank you.
discussion?
Is this
I'll
something
just-
we have to vote on?
Whether
Yes,
to assign a CRT or not, right, Terry?
yes.
This
And-
is a motion.
or
Yes,
dismiss the
to
This is a
complaint.
assign
motion to
CRT
dismiss,
or
right?
dismiss, right. Yep.
Could
think
could I
that
just
was
ask a question? One question. Was this a citizen complaint or was there an entity that was involved that?
It was a citizens group,
it
so a
is,
group of
but-
citizens.
Thank you.
I could just add a few comments. That's a great write-up, Matt, and there were a lot of complaints of 11 counts, so there was a lot of content, but a lot of them were just duplicative and the same thing over and over. And the three of us come from different backgrounds and different roles on this board, but we're always in full agreement and consensus at the end. And the other thing that was interesting is that this is my first time looking at a case since the pandemic, and evidence that was provided were YouTube public meetings. So it wasn't just words on paper to look at, but also videos of public meetings, which was really interesting and very different.
Excellent. Is there a motion to dismiss?
So moved.
Second.
David, I don't know if you can go down the list.
Yeah, a yes to dismiss it. Kirk,
Yeah.
Jamie,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
David's a yes, Patrick,
Yes.
and Gail.
Yes,
Okay. Is there any new business?
Hold on, there's one more thing, for old business. Complaint 23C01. That's the most recent complaint.
Oh, Matt, what about 22C01?
They just voted to dismiss it, right?
Oh, did we talk about the other one that Greg and Gail are on?
the 21 CO1.
Yeah, I started with that
Oh,
earlier.
I'm sorry if I missed it. I apologize.
He didn't say much. That's.
Yeah.
it was
Didn't
brief.
miss much.
Said we'll talk about it later.
Yep, at the March meeting. So 23C01, that's the most recent complaint we received back in July. At the last meeting in January 9th, I was asked by the board to contact the complainant and obtain an update on the status of the site work and ongoing work with the LSP. If you recall, the complainant filed a complaint about LSP signing a contract, receiving payment, and then not showing up to do work for a period of about a year. So I made the call to the complainant on January 11th. Due to illness, I spoke to the wife of the complainant. I was told that the LSP did sampling work last fall and a report is pending. Also, the wife indicated that she and the complainant are in contact with DEP, who is providing them guidance. The complainant would like to put the case on hold until that final report is submitted to DEP. So that's where we stand right now with an update.
Excellent. Thank you.
Do we have to vote on putting it on hold or can we just do that?
I think we can just do it because it's at the request of the complainant.
Well, I just wanted like one of the attorneys to weigh in on that just to make sure we're following procedure.
Well, I mean, I'm not totally sure historically what we have done. I mean, the only thing similar that I can remember is if a complainant says that they want to withdraw the complaint, we have said that's up to the board, that's not up to the complainant. If you want to wait and not decide on this, I think it's fine to do so.
All right.
Is a vote needed, though?
I feel like we should do something to acknowledge it, that's all. Rather than,
We haven't
If you-
accepted the case as a CRT, so it's not even a accepted complaint yet, so I would think that.
no, I understand.
I mean, if you want to make a move to table it, I did check and we should vote if there's a motion to table, so we could do that. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I move we table it till we hear back from the complainant, or within a certain period of time, we get back to them and say that if we don't hear from you, we're gonna dismiss it.
What?
Or no,
period
we
of
don't
time
say
are you
that. Let
suggesting?
me take off the last part because we didn't reach that point yet. So let's just say we would table it and then check in with the complainant within a certain period of time. Do we want to say 6 months?
Matt, did you have a sense of when the submittal is due or expected?
It's overdue. It's an IRA status report. There haven't been any reports filed for the sites in 2019, so it could be any day now.
Oh,
It's not a phased report with a deadline. It's a past due deadline for an IRA status report.
then I would say no more than 6 months, because that's an issue that people have been disciplined for before, so. So I move that we table it for now and revisit in 6 months if we haven't heard sooner.
Second,
All those in favor? Yes, Kirk,
yeah,
Jamie,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes,
Paul,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
David's a yes, Patrick,
Yes.
Gail.
Yes.
okay. You have anything else for us or?
That's
new
it.
business?
No new business.
Okay, future meeting, March 12th. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourning 12:45.
I'm calling the board meeting to order at 12:45. I am facilitating this meeting as the board's executive director, not as a board member with voting powers. Announcements. I have one announcement. Millie Garcia Serrano officially resigned as board chair on February 8th, 2024. I just wanted to thank her for her many years of service to the LSP board. If there are no other announcements, I'll move to the agenda. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda? Then we will adopt it as written. The next item is review of the draft minutes of the meeting held on January 9th, 2024. Does anybody have any edits to those draft minutes? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So
Motion to
moved.
approve.
A
Second.
second? Okay. I'll go
Second.
through the roll call. David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
Yes.
Greg McBride,
yes,
Kirk Franklin,
Yeah,
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
Jamie Smith,
Yes.
Craig Ellis,
Yes.
and Paul McKinley.
Yes.
So the minutes are approved as written. The next item is an ARP docket. Could somebody put that docket up on the screen?
Yep, I'll get it.
So Matt will discuss the applicants on the docket.
Yep, ARP 337. Two candidates, Kent Walker and Patrick Malone. I'll start with Kent Walker, number 8350. ARP, Craig Ellis, Kirk Franklin, and David Austin met on February 6, 2024. Some notes about their comments about their LSP application. The ARP indicated that candidate had a solid background, good progression from a project manager to a senior project manager, good project description showing depth and breadth of work completed, and the references supported the work completed in the application. With that, the ARP recommends the candidate be allowed to sit for the LSP exam. And then Patrick Malone, number 4434, same ARP. ARP indicated that candidate is well qualified with good experience with MCP work and also dealing with other regulations such as TSCA and RECRA. Candidate had good project write-ups and met all the requirements for RPE. With that, the ARP recommends this candidate be allowed to sit for the exam. Send it back to you, Terry, for a roll call.
Okay, are any of the board members recused from voting on either application? Okay, so I will deem the docket read and incorporate it into the minutes. Would any board member like to remove either of the applications from the docket for further discussion? Okay, then we'll move to a vote. Can I have a motion to vote on the docket?
Motion to approve the recommendations of ARP 331.
Second,
337. ARP 337.
337, sorry, misread it.
Okay, I'll do a roll call if you, yes, is that you approve the docket. David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
yes.
Greg McBride,
Yes.
Kirk Franklin,
yes,
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
Jamie Smith,
Yes.
Craig Ellis,
Yes.
Paul McKinley.
Yes.
Okay, so the applications on the docket are approved. Okay, so the next item on the agenda are renewal applications. So I think we have 4 dockets. So if we can put the first one up on the screen. It's a renewal docket number 1. Are any board members recused from voting on this docket?
I make a
And-
motion to approve docket 1.
Second,
So I'll move through the roll call. A yes would mean that you approve. Docket 1, David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
Yes,
Greg McBride,
Yes.
Kirk Franklin,
yes,
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
James Smith,
yes.
Craig Ellis,
Yes.
Paul McKinley.
I'm a yes.
Now, docket number 1 is approved. We can move to docket number 2. Are any board members recused from voting on this docket?
motion to approve,
Second.
second,
I'll move through the roll call. David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
yes.
Greg McBride,
Yes.
Kirk Franklin,
yes,
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
Jamie Smith,
Yes.
Craig Ellis,
Yes.
Paul McKinley.
Yes.
Docket number 2 is approved. Moving to renewal docket number 3, are any board members recused from voting? Motion to approve.
Docket number 3.
second,
I'll move through again, the roll call again. David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
Yes,
Greg McBride,
Yes.
Kirk Franklin,
yes,
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
James Smith,
Yes.
Craig Ellis,
Yes.
Paul McKinley.
Yes.
Docket number 3 is approved. Moving on to renewal docket number 4, are any board members recused?
motion to approve,
Second,
David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
Yes.
Greg McBride,
Yes.
Kirk Franklin,
yes,
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
James Smith,
Yes.
Craig Ellis,
Yes.
Paul McKinley.
Yes.
Renewal docket number 4 is approved. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a interpretation question of a regulation, 309 CMR 3.092A. That regulation says that no person may apply continuing education credits earned during one license period toward another license period. The specific question that the board had posed previously was how to interpret this regulation if an LSP's license had lapsed for failure to timely renew. And the question was how the board, if that issue had come before the board before, if an LSP had earned continuing education credits while they were lapsed, whether they could apply them to their next renewal period or not. I did some looking through the historical minutes of the board, and this issue has come up several times in the history of the board, and this regulation is unclear as to how it would apply to LSPs whose license have lapsed. There could be a very conservative interpretation to say that because they haven't renewed, that they're still in their last license renewal period. But the board in prior years, when this issue has come up, has opted to not look at the interpretation of this regulation so conservatively or narrowly, but instead to entertain waivers for people that have asked if they could have credits that they earned during their lapse period applied to their next renewal. The board also talked about in the years 2006 to 2008, maybe amending this regulation in the future to clarify this issue. And at that time, the board had talked about, because they don't want to disincentivize LSPs from taking good courses that might come up while their license have lapsed, to allow it, but maybe to put some cap on the number of credits that are allowed. At that time, there was a discussion of maybe 12 credits or something like that, so that an LSP wouldn't take all of the majority of their continuing ed during like a lapse period, but would spread it out more broadly over the renewal period. And I found in looking at the historical minutes, several times where LSPs had, and then the board in discussing that regulatory amendment, which obviously has never happened. But since the board now is looking at some other amendments to the regulations, if the board is interested, that might be something that they might want to entertain in this package. But the board also discussed that since the regulations haven't been amended to clarify this issue, to look at requests that might come up on a case-by-case basis. And there were several examples that I could find in the minutes where LSPs did make a waiver request, and the board did grant the waiver and allowed the credits earned during the lapse period to count toward the next renewal. The only other thing I wanted to say is that this whole question came up because an LSP had sent a question to the board in the spring of 2023, asking whether he could use credits that were earned during the lapse period. That particular LSP, I think, had earned 16.5 credits earned during the lapse. And another question is, do you want to treat that old email as a waiver request right now and vote on it? Do you want us to bring back the email that the LSP had sent in the spring and include that in the next packet and decide upon it then? Or is there any discussion or questions about any of that?
Terry, this is Greg. I think we've gone over this several times, so that hopefully this is familiar to all the members of the board who have participated in those calls. So I would recommend that we view the original request as well as some follow-up discussion with the board as a waiver request.
I think that's fair at this point. You know, things could have gotten confused and we may not have actually made a decision for this long a time. And it seems to be that it would be an appropriate thing to do since the person asked. I mean, that's kind of like a waiver request. He just didn't know what to call it.
Just so it's clear for the record, the 16.5 credits, are those all 16.5 above and beyond the amount needed to renew? Is it some portion of them that,
Yeah, it looked to us that the LSP license lapsed because they only needed one DEP credit. And so these 16.5 credits are above and beyond what was needed to renew.
thank you.
So
Yeah,
I
and just a
think it is
little more
worth,
background on that. There was, this LSP was waiting for that one DEP course to be offered in 2022. So, he waited until well, it wasn't until September 2022 where that DEP course was offered. He took it. But prior to that, he was taking technical course credits, up 16 and a half total over that summer of 2022 thereabouts. So he had to wait till September to get that one DEP credit he needed for renewal. And at the same time, he had credits kind of filling up for his next renewal period.
I don't, whatever we decide to going forward, I think we should not incorporate something that encourages somebody to do this. I think Terry's suggestion of a cap might be useful. I don't know what that should be, but 16 credits seems like a lot to me, but that's that's for others to comment on also.
I will say just from the historical record that I saw, in 2006, an LSP had asked to apply 14 credits earned during a lapse period, and the board at that time granted that request. In 2008, another LSP asked to use 24 credits earned during a lapse period, and the board at that time granted that request. That doesn't mean that you were held to that, but those were votes that were, that's what I found in historical record looking back.
Well, maybe the thing to do this time, since we now have examples where in the past we've granted it for approximately the same number of credits and more than this number of credits, it seems like without guidance or regulation in place, it wouldn't be unreasonable for us to grant this request, but make it clear via a reg change that it will be limited to a certain number of credits.
Agreed.
Yeah, given, I definitely like to make a note for the regulations committee to review the language for clarification. But as mentioned, given the clear past precedent on this, and thank you for the research, I'm comfortable making a motion to approve this waiver request for
Second.
16.5 credits.
Second.
Does that mean you made it so we can second it?
I did.
Seconded.
Yes. Okay.
I'll
Second.
do that.
So we can discuss it now further?
Yeah.
Thanks for doing the research, Terry. That was very helpful. So just to clarify, the person was waiting to get a DEP credit, and while they were waiting for one to be available, they took 16 or so technical credits.
Correct.
Okay.
Just one other thing I seem to recall as we were discussing, we looked at the time frame too, and the 16 credits were in like when somebody is waiting to renew and is that window, their 3-year period doesn't change, right? So the credits were taken within that 3-year period, and the renewal date doesn't change. Is that correct?
Terry, I
Yeah.
can speak to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember that was back in June at the June meeting. There was a healthy discussion on whether the new expiration date was correct, which was October 30th, 2025, or should it revert back to January because that was the anniversary date previously. And there was some confusion about the regulations. Whenever a LSP has his license lapse and then he goes to renew, it doesn't revert back to the prior anniversary date. It's actually when the board ultimately approves the renewal, it's 3 years from the 30th of the month of the next quarterly month. So October 11, 2022, this LSP submitted the renewal application. It was approved by the board. So he gets October 30th, 2025 as his next expiration date. It doesn't go back to January 30th, 2025. And it's 3.064 is the regulations for those LSPs that submit renewal applications when their license lapses. 3.06 one is just for regular renewal applications for LSPs in good standing.
So some of the 16 credits were taken in the limbo, I guess, between that extension time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, this is another situation. We've obviously done this before, but we should look probably when we redo the regulations, look more closely at how to better describe this, because technically this person now has more than 3 years to have accumulated their total number of credits.
Yep. 3+ years. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the red line strikeout file of the regulations that I sent around, there is a comment bubble to reconsider this situation and how to get it into the new regulations.
So we'll see it when the time comes. It won't get
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah, it's in there.
No, we won't let it get lost.
Okay. Then I stand by my second of letting this situation happen as it has in the past, but revisit it for the future.
Okay, so I'll do a roll call. So a yes would be to be in favor of the waiver. David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
Yes.
Greg McBride,
Yes.
Kirk Franklin,
yes,
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
Jamie Smith,
Yes.
Craig Ellis,
yes,
Paul McKinley.
I mean, yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is renewal status report, and Matt is going to give us that.
Yes. So for the January 30th, 2024 renewal group, there were 35 total LSPs that were up for renewal. We received 33 LSPs, their renewal applications. And then for the other two, one of them requested inactive status, which is listed here, Mr. Connolly, and one LSP indicated they will not renew, so their license lapsed.
Okay, the next is other renewal related matters, and we don't have any. So moving to 7 on the agenda, other licensing related matters. The next is scheduling of future ARPs. Matt, do you want to look for volunteers?
Yes, yeah, so 2 new candidates submitted applications within the past week or so. Jessica Engelhart, Jennifer McKechnie, I believe that's how you pronounce her name. So we're looking for volunteers to serve on the ARP who don't have to recuse from those 2 candidates.
you know, Kirk,
I can do it as well.
Yep, this is Patrick also. If
Yeah,
you need
we need it.
somebody.
You need an LSP. Matt, I previously told you that I could, but I am recused from Jen McKechnie.
If you need an LSP, I can jump in.
Okay, so Jamie, Patrick, and Paul? Thank you. I'll be in contact next week. We're still waiting on some reference forms and some other information, but once we have everything received, I'll reach out and get ARP call together.
Okay, Natasha's gonna lead us through the next few items on the agenda.
Okay, so as you can see, we do have currently 2 sitting at inactive status. As of today, we have a total of 422 listed as active. Going down to our annual fees report. So far, we have 293 LSPs that have paid their 2024 annual fees, which is great. That breakdown is 4%, which is 13 paid by check, 96%, which is 280 paid online. 30% are still outstanding, so that equals 125 as of today. And reminders to pay that fee went out on 2/9 of this month. And for 2023, we had 6 LSPs that didn't pay their annual fee, and their licenses were suspended October 2023. They went into revoke status January 18th. We did have a last minute payment, so currently only 5 are sitting on revoke status as of right now. And I just gave you, I guess, our Acela portal update. We currently only have 19 that have not set up their account. online as of today.
Okay, so moving to number 8, examinations. Matt, do you want to talk about the next exam?
Yes. So the date of the next exam, I think the last meeting we had mentioned it was February 26th. We were going to administer the exam. A lot of folks, they couldn't make it that date. So we rescheduled the exam to February 29th and it added also the next day after March 1st. We have a total of 10 examinees to schedule. We only like to max out the number of examinees on a day to be 8. So we're going to shuffle them between the 2 dates. Of the 10 examinees, 6 are retakers from last year and 4 new candidates taking the exam. That's the update.
And Matt, do you want to give an exam committee report?
Sure. Exam committee meets twice a month. We met on January 24th and then February 7th. Going through each exam and each exam question to evaluate whether to change the question based on the new MCP regulations. Also taking a look at each question, evaluating it for effectiveness and proper wording. And lastly, we're working on generating a 4th exam is one of the goals. So our next meeting is February 21st.
On the exam, the numbers that you gave, does that include the 2 people approved today?
That does include the 2 approved today. We were assuming that they would get approved, so 10 total, including the 2 today.
Thank you.
Okay, number 9, continuing education committee. David, I can send it back to you to discuss what happened at the subcommittee meeting.
Sure, we met today. We approved one course that has 3 parts, 2 LSPA courses, webinar and future on demand, and then a NOMOA conference on PFAS in April. We approved the meeting minutes from last month, and the next meeting is in March 12th, hybrid Boston office. Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
to approve the recommendations of the Continuing Education Committee.
Second,
Second.
I can go through the list.
Thank you.
David Austin,
Yes.
Gail Batchelder,
yes.
Greg McBride,
Yes.
Kirk Franklin,
yes,
Patrick Heron,
Yes.
Jamie Smith,
Yes.
Craig Ellis,
yes,
Paul McKinley.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is a report from the Professional Conduct Committee. Kirk, do you want to give an overview of what happened?
sure. We approved the draft minutes and we discussed the active cases. 05C07, the AGS for an extension. So 314, the assistant AG will put something together and hopefully get that to us. 08C03, nothing new. 12C01, nothing new. 18C01, attorney was added and CRP's been scheduled. 18C02, attorney's been added. And the last 2, 20C01 and 20C02, updates will be forthcoming. Old business. Complaint 21C01, screen team is working on it. 22C01, that was dismissed. And great presentation, Matt. Hate to just say it was just dismissed, but we put a lot of work into it. And then complaint 23C01 is on hold. We tabled it and we'll revisit it in 6 months. We adjourned at 12:45.
Next item is personnel, budget, and fees. we don't have any staff openings, nothing to say there. I don't have any information on the budget yet. That's one of the areas that I need to learn more about, so I have no news there. So nothing else to say about that category. 12, status of board member vacancies. It's the same as we discussed last month. The chairperson slot is currently open, as is one of the non-LSP environmental protection slots. We did mention at the last meeting that we had gotten an application by a non-LSP who had expressed interest. There's been no action on that application yet because historically it's been the executive director and the board chair who would review those applications and, if appropriate, move forward with an interview. So nothing's happened in regard to that since the last meeting. Number 13, other business. Regulation amendments update. I can say that since the last meeting, I looked at the red line strikeout document that had been circulated to the board several months ago. I have comments on some of the changes. It looked to me that there aren't that many substantive amendments in the package. I would like to maybe prepare a new document with my comments over the next month and then reconvene the regulations subcommittee to see if we can really focus on the what the focus of the changes and try to really move it forward so we can get that over the finish line over the next few months, or at least as far as we can, because I think, as you guys know, once we're done with proposed amendments, the board votes on those, then there's a series, then it goes to elsewhere in the agency, and at some point we have to have public meetings, and so the timeline once it leaves us is a little bit out of our control. But I'd like to, at the next meeting, report on the progress I've made and talk about reconvening the subcommittee so we can finalize proposed amendments. Next meeting is scheduled for March 12th, 2024. Looking to have it be hybrid again with in-person and Zoom. And I just want to make a notice that when the board meeting is done, the board will be entering into quasi-judicial session, which is a non-public session. And after that, the board meeting will not be returning to public session today. And the board members, once the board meeting is adjourned, will be sent a separate link to join that quasi-judicial session. So the next, any questions about that? So
Chris, I just want to say, Chris, could you send it to my Ramble address, because that's the computer I'm on right now?
No problem, we'll do.
Thank you.
So I am calling the board meeting adjourned at 1:14.
So yeah, just give me like 5-10 minutes and I'll send those invites out, and then we can, give me 5 minutes. It'll and then I'll start up the second meeting.
See everyone in
Thank you.
Quasi. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.